So I want to present Eric Hobbie. I'm sharing my screen. Can you turn on your...
Start my video.
There you go.
Yes.
Am I there? Oh, there we go. Okay. How does that look? How does the bar look, guys? Look good?
Yes, we're good.
Looks
So
awesome.
before we start with the cocktail, why you not introduce yourself?
My name is Eric Hobbie. I am the cocktail consigliere, or if you know Billy Crystal in his little mobster movie, the consigliere. I oversee 30 venues for Click Hospitality, and I've done venues all over the country, California, here, soon to be Dallas. We're opening up Lynetta in March, so make sure you guys come and see us over there. Can you guys hear me okay? This is my first Zoom. I'm a virgin.
No way.
Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah. A Zoom virgin. You guys hear me okay?
Yes, we can hear you.
I'm a New Yorker. I can speak louder, trust me.
Yes.
Today we're going to talk a little bit about tequila and mezcal, which are literally cousins of each other. And then I'm going to make you guys the best margarita you've ever had and give you a few tips in making your margarita at home so you can really wow all your friends and all your guests. So just to touch on a little bit about tequila, tequila was mezcal 60, 70 years ago. Mezcal is the original way of making tequila, where they would take the agave and roast the pinas, which is the center of the cactus, in the ground with charcoal, and that's what gives it mezcal that smoky flavor. Now, with the commercialization of tequila and the demand rising, they had to figure out ways of, because leaving it in the ground and burying it with this charcoal, it would take 2 to 4 days. So they had to hurry up the process. So with commercialization, we started using, this. With the commercialization, they had to started using these big ovens, and they kind of lost that smoky flavor. And then also along the way, tequila started using 100% Blue Weber agave tequila, the cactus itself. And mezcal can use up to 40 different cactuses. So that kind of differentiates a little bit mezcal and tequila. Tequila is one of my favorite. Tequila is one of my favorite products, the distilled products to use, because right out the still, it's a great product. Even where some tequilas or some whiskeys per se had me 14, 15 years to really get that sweetness, to mellow it out, to round it out. Whereas tequila, right out the still, boom, even Blanco is really the best.
And then, Eric, you got to unmute yourself, please, again. Yeah. Just unmute yourself. Let me.
Okay. How long was I muted for?
No, just 10 seconds.
Okay.
You're fine.
I'm not going to touch the computer. I'm going to leave it as be. I was just saying how tequila happens to be one of my favorite distillates, because right off the still, it tastes great. It doesn't have to be aged very long. One of my favorites is the reposado, which means rested, which is aged up to 6 months. Whereas whiskey, you talk to any whiskey master, you really need 16 years, 18 years for whiskey to round out and mellow out and be palatable. Whereas tequila, 6 months, and this thing is good to go. And even añejo, which is aged only up to a year, it's only a year in a barrel. So I feel like you're getting more for your product. And anytime you age something in a barrel, the more years you go, the more, it's funny, I got a tattoo on my arm. You lose two things. You lose percentage to what they call the devil share, what gets absorbed in the barrels, and lose another percentage to called the angel share, what gets evaporated. But I'm gonna show you guys 2 really cool tricks to make the best margarita you're ever gonna make. One, where's my little bottle? Salerno. Salerno, this is, I call the Italian triple sec. So Salerno is a product made in Sicily They use blood oranges from Sicily and lemons from the Amalfi Coast, which the lemons, if anyone's ever been to Italy, they're like the size of your head. And it's basically a triple sec with blood oranges, lemons, but it just gives it is a little bit more expensive than your typical Cointreau or triple sec, but it really adds such another dimension. It really rounds out the flavor, especially when you use tequila. And whenever you're making any cocktail for that matter, you want to use fresh products. Now, fresh lime juice, opposed to concentrated lime juice or something like that, is always the way to go. And when you juice your limes or lemons or oranges for that matter, you want to roll the fruit. What you do is you're releasing all the pulp. You're releasing from the pulp from the skin. So when you actually squeeze it in your hand juicer, you're going to get more juice. And it actually tends to leave some of the bitterness, the pith out from the inside. Now, a neat trick, I always try to learn something. I've opened 30 venues across the country. And I always say to people, my cocktail waitresses, my bartenders, even though I might have been doing this longer, I could still learn something from you. You can learn something every day. You can learn something new from people who aren't even in the industry. Now, me, I learned this from a girl. I always believe when you do the juice, you put the lime in face down. It's actually incorrect. And the way a juicer is made, it's actually made to contour the inside, the top of the juicer, and you'll actually get more juice that way. So we're going to make the best margarita possible. And if you could tell, like when you take the juicer off, it concaves. You actually get more juice. I do a double tap, I call it. Once up, once down. Now, most every cocktail is a basic math equation. It's 2-1-1. You do 2 parts base. In our case, we're using it's a basic math equation. It's 2-1-1. You do 2 parts base. In our case, using modifier, which is going to be our Cointreau, or in this case, Salerno, and then an accent, which is our lime juice. So it's just a balance of flavors, a balance of acidity to sweetness or bitterness to sweetness. So we're going to use a whole lime.
We got a question as well here, Eric, for you.
What was that?
Bill is asking, isn't it a little sweeter than Cointreau? I don't know.
No, so when you talk about sweetness, the technical term is brick content. It actually has the same brick content and alcohol level as Cointreau. It just has more of a dimensional flavor because you have those blood oranges, those lemons, which are very unique to the Amalfi Coast. It just, when you taste them side by side, Cointreau tastes more perfumey, whereas Salerno will taste more like that natural orange, natural lemon. So I know, because I've been doing this for a long time, typically in a lime, you're going to get about 3/4 of an ounce of lime juice. Now, when using fresh lime juice to a concentrated lime juice, I always go a little bit less because you get more acidity, because the acidity is going to be balanced with the sweetness. So any jigger, these are called jiggers, any jigger you buy in the store is usually 1.5 ounce and 1 ounce. And then inside they have these little lines. So in here, even though it's 1.5 ounce to the top, it's 1 ounce to the little line. And then you have 1/2 ounce, 3/4 ounce to the top. When you're pouring in your jigger, you always go right to the top, almost so that it bulbs over the top. They call it the meniscus. And what that does is it gives you they measure it, when they measure these things, they measure it to the absolute bulbous top. So that is 1 ounce. So we use 1 ounce of the Salerno. And then, of course, 2 ounces of our favorite. This is one of my favorite, Casamigos. Not because I think George Clooney is a great looking guy, but I just think that they really make a really good product. Another cool thing, when you're shopping for tequila, and tequila is the worst with this. A lot of these tequilas put their emphasis on marketing. If you go into a store and you see tequila in a glass gun or a glass skull, the juice is not that good. You want the bottle to look like it basically got smuggled into the U.S. by a donkey. You know, like you want to see like a crack in the bottle. You want to see the papers kind of falling off. That's how you know they put more love and more emphasis in the juice that's inside the bottle than the actual marketing around it. Now, we all know we live in a marketing age. Anytime I make cocktails for venues, I always say, if you don't take a picture of it before you drink it, I feel like I haven't done my job, because we eat and drink with our eyes first. And I always tell people this: what's the most important ingredient in any cocktail? Experience. So shaking. I love when I teach shaking. I always say make the shake your own. Now, when we do shake, you want to shake. You want it to create a roll factor. So when you shake, so the Japanese shake, you're creating this emulsification of the acid. And if there's egg whites, you're emulsifying them. But especially when it comes to shaking, this is part of the concept. Don't waste a drop. Also, I'm a big fan of glassware, garnishes. I like to dehydrate fruit. Dehydrating fruit not only gives them a longer shelf life, but also they look really pretty. I mean, these things, you can put dehydrated pineapple, there's a dehydrated blood orange, dehydrated orange, fresh raspberries, picks, all these things add, when people come to my house, they're like, they see these drinks, they're like, these are better drinks than we've gotten at a bar. And it's just little things that you could do to make them, just put them over the top, even like edible flowers. These are always a hit. My wife always loves it when I put these on there. So we're gonna put a little bit of those on there. So I'm gonna make this look pretty. Blood orange, right over the top. Some flowers. There it is. I'll let you guys know. Hold on. Make sure it's good. Now, see, me personally, I love the beauty of the boozy backbone. But if some of your guests or you tend to not like that alcohol taste so much, 1/4 ounce of agave. Now, agave, people think agave is from the same cactus as tequila. It's not. It's actually from the lily. It's in the lily family, and it's the same plant that creates the pink fruit. Oh my God, I'm drawing a blank. It's a little pink fruit that you find sometimes in margaritas and stuff like that. But when you get agave, it tends to be very thick. The viscosity of it, you need to cut it a little bit. So if you get it in a store, if you get it in Total Wine or whatever type of liquor store you have by your house, just cut it with a little bit of hot water before you mix it in with your margarita, and that'll make it soluble and make it blend a lot more smoothly. Sometimes, especially if you're using, or even if you want to change up, even instead of using agave, you can use honey. I've used honey in different variations of margaritas, and it comes out really well. I love using natural sugars. Honey, believe it or not, is the only thing that'll never go bad. So I love using honey, agave, but you have to cut it a little bit. I do 1-to-1. So if I have honey, I'll do 1 cup of honey to 1 cup of hot water, stir it up. That makes it more soluble when shaking in the margaritas or any, I use honey in my old fashions, so that's a little trick. Also, I brought a couple of cool little neat toys. If you make, they call them swaths or zest. You peel the orange or lemon, and I stole this from my daughter, who's 8 years old. She's not very happy about it, but I took her craft scissors. And what you can do is just make these little swaths, and you can make these ahead of time. These stay good. You just wrap them up in a little paper towel, a little damp paper towel, keep them in the fridge, and they'll stay good all day. And you just cut it to make it look like a pretty little swath. You guys see that? I had to put the computer a little bit far back because I'm a little bit tall, and all you were getting.
You got a perfect view.
What was that?
You got a perfect view with everything.
Yeah, I had to push it back. When it was on the bar, all you saw was this down. Also, when you're using a swath, if you spray, I don't know if you can see it from here, but you could spray oils over the top. And what those oils will do, they'll sit on top of the cocktail. And every time you bring the cocktail to your mouth, the essential oils is almost like salt, how it opens up your palate. It intensifies the flavors. It's a funny thing that everyone thinks training wheels when you talk taking shots of tequila with salt and lime. What salt actually does, even though people think it calms down the flavor, it doesn't. It intensifies the flavor. So salt and lime are two things which personally, and you can try this next time you have a party, instead of using salt and lime, use cinnamon sugar and orange juice. It's the best pairing with tequila there is, especially with reposado, my personal favorite. It's almost like the pickleback with whiskey. It gives it all the nuances, it just marries so well together. Before I drink all those cocktails, do we have any other questions, comments, concerns?
I want a margarita.
I want to see all you guys for when we open Lynetta as well over there in Dallas. We'll be opening around mid-March. I'll talk a little bit more about tequila because I love tequila. Tequila. So there's also because I like to give a lot of suggestions when buying tequila. So there's a number. Here, I'm gonna bring this over here so you guys can see it. It's called a NOM number. This NOM. See that? NOM. So the NOM is basically the distillery that the tequila comes from. Now, in Jalisco, there's 5 different regions you can make tequila in, but Jalisco in Mexico is the biggest one. And there's really 5 major distilleries that a lot of these tequilas come from. So even though this is Casamigos, 5 or 6 other brands will be made in the same distillery. Now, my personal favorite, 1099, 1402. That's where like Don Julio, Casamigos, Cuervo, some of the bigger brands are made. It's just that they have they still do certain things very old school, like the mezcaleros or the guys that chop down the cactuses they use. What's called a hoa. It's a certain it looks like a bent shovel, and by hand they take them out by hand. And I went down there for Patron. I'll be down there for a week, and got some free labor out of me. I was in the fields like whacking these things up, and I mean I'm in pretty good shape. I took like 2 of these things out of the ground, and I was like done. My shoulders were shredded. I was sweating. It was a great experience, but I was like, God, and these guys are doing it 12 hours a day. So for me, like the hands-on, even though these are commercialized and even though they're bumping out, 10 million cases a year, it's crazy to see that there are guys still hands-on with this process, not just big tractors just ripping them out and stuff like that. And these guys, they're getting paid, nothing a day. It's just the pride they have in what they do and the love. Like I feel like you could taste it in these products. So that's one of my favorite things about some of these tequilas is I've been to the distillery. I've seen how they operate. Everything is about family. We throw big parties once a month for these guys where these mariachi bands come in, and it's just like the mariachi band is like 13 people, and they're all family members, and they just, it's all about the love of the product, and I can taste it in these products. So that's one of my favorite things about tequila too. Is like everything is there's still family in it, and it's very. And I feel like you can taste the love. You can taste the love in these products.
We have to bring you back here, Eric, when we do our in-person session. So that's what people are talking about.
Absolutely. Listen, I love this stuff. I've been bartending since I was a kid. And I call myself a star-tender. I hate the word mixologist. I think it's a very pompous way of doing things. But, at the end of the day, when I train these people, I tell them we're all, no matter what, we're all in sales. And like I said, the most important ingredient I believe in this cocktail is experience. And I believe everyone deserves value for their money. And they come to any one of my venues, and I want them to have a good time, a good experience. I don't want them to feel like the bartender's snooty and shoving knowledge down their throat. But if they ask a question, obviously I want them to know knowledge is power. But it's all about hospitality to me is like almost I compare it to in Israel where everyone has to go into the army after high school. I feel like everyone in America should have to go into some sort of service industry, whether it be like a waiter or a bartender. You learn so much about people. You learn so much about sales. You learn a lot about yourself, and it's a fun job. I feel like I haven't worked for 20 years. I've been doing this 20 years, and I really feel like I haven't worked for 20. It's fun for me, and I always tell people, listen, I've done a couple of these. This is my first Zoom, but I've done a couple different presentations, stuff like that. And I always tell people, give my information. Shoot me a text, shoot me an email when you have a party. I'll give you a bunch of suggestions. That's what life is all about. It's about giving back and experiencing something different. And, you know, you do the right thing in life, it all comes back. So I try to do it.
So just to give you some context here, Eric, the entire crew that you are talking to is all insurance guys.
Okay.
Right?
Well, there's one thing you always have to have.
Yeah, of course. And one of the guys just mentioned, you know, this guy should sell insurance. You know, you are so good at selling.
Well, listen, I've been in sales my whole life. I could sell, you know, ice to an Eskimo and water to a whale. One of my favorite things, and even this job is sales too. And I found this while I was looking for some of the stuff in my house. Stand out from the crowd, right? When I was a bartender on the strip. I was working for Giada de Laurentiis. And, well, I should say this. Before I was working for Maribel. I know it's got a bad name now, but I really enjoy working for that company. And I feel like I've worked for some of the best restaurants in Vegas. I worked for Michael Mina, Charlie Trotter. And the way I met Giada came to the bar, and she was with her CFO, and it was before she opened up a restaurant here in Vegas. And my nickname was New York, if anyone didn't realize I'm from New York. And my GM comes running up, it was right when we opened, my GM comes running up and he's like, hey, Giada de Laurentiis just came to the bar, you need to take care of him. I'm like, done. Because I had a special way, when I was a bartender, I had a special way of catering to people. Again, I feel like everyone deserves value for their money, and I always looked at you sitting at my bar as an experience. This is, even though I have 6 or 7 chairs at the bar, that's my little tiny restaurant. And I would just take menus out of people's hands. I'd be like, do you have any allergy restrictions? What are your favorite foods? I'm going to give you a catered experience, something that you've never had before. And I do like a little 2 or 3 course tasting with like an appetizer or a split pasta or something like that. But one of the things I gave Giada after I gave her experience, I told her, I know more people than I do. I've been in Vegas for 15 years. If there's anything I could ever do for you, you just let me know. And I gave her my business card. And I'll show you what my business card was. My business card was on a napkin. Now I've since changed my email and my phone number, but this is actually a business card. My business card, when I had a buddy that was a marketing guy up in Sonoma, and I told him, I'm like, hey, listen, this is actually my handwriting. I was like, listen, I always write my name on a napkin. If I give you a napkin, can you make like 5,000 of them? And he's like, yeah. So I actually gave it with my hand, which I have pretty nice handwriting, I think. I wrote, and he made 5,000. I gave Giada this, and she's like, this is the best business card I've ever seen. So I always tell people, especially my bartenders, you never know who you're sitting in front of. Stand out from the crowd, own what you do, love what you do. And even if you don't love this, I love this, and I'll never do anything else. But if this is not your thing, if you're just doing this to get through your master's degree in college or whatever it is, someone's going to see you. Someone's going to see something special in you just because you own what you do, just because you love what you do. And they're going to be like, another example is, I always forget this guy's name. He has the big ears. He does Restaurant Impossible. He's all yoked up. He's an English guy. He saw me working for Giada's, and he was like, listen, what do you want to do? And I was actually in the process, I have a couple of food trucks. I was in the process of building a food truck in Miami. And he's like, I want to do a TV show with you.
So Robert Irvine.
And it was funny because I was like, where do you live? He's like, Tampa. I was like, oh, Tampa is one of my favorite steakhouses, Burns Steakhouse. I actually flew out to Tampa, took him to Burns Steakhouse. It cost me $1,500, and it took me a year to pay off my credit card. But I thought it was pretty cool. I took him to dinner, and we had contracts back and forth. I had to get a lawyer, and he wanted like 75%, and I was like, no way. But we're going to get like 5 food trucks, do this crazy TV show, whatever. But again, you never know who's sitting in front of you. You never know who's going to be that person that's going to give you an amazing opportunity. I tell people all the time, especially here in Vegas, there's billionaires that come in flip-flops and shorts. And that guy will be like, hey, listen, I'm going to give you $1 million if you want to open up 5 nail salons, like give me my money back in 3 years and blah, 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 blah. So, no matter what in life, and I've learned this lesson many a time, I have to take my foot out of my mouth. You never know who you're talking to. You never know who you're sitting in front of. Own what you do, no matter what you do. My dad always said, I don't care if you clean toilets for a living. Make that toilet the cleanest toilet the next person's going to sit on. Own what you do and love what you do. But I like that. I like that business. I think it's
appreciate it, man. No, this is, it could not have been a better wrap up of this entire show. Usually people bring, all these big stars to start a show. I think you were the right epitome to wrap up the show.
I was going to bring a chicken head because I know how I look sometimes on the computer, but I didn't want to go over the top.
Well, this was perfect. I appreciate it. Again, I think I want to thank everybody for joining here. I hope you guys got a thing or two out of this and some fun. Back to you, Montserrat. What's next?
Yes, and also, listen, feel free to give out my email, my cell phone number. Whenever you guys are having events, parties, you want a couple ideas, please. I love this stuff. It's
Appreciate it.
not a burden to me. I love giving, cool little recipes and stuff like that you guys can do at home. Just when you come to Vegas, come to one of my venues, come say hi, and make sure you come see us when we open up Lynetta over there in Dallas.
Awesome. Awesome.
Hope to see you here next year we have IMOC 3 in person or IMOC first in person.
Yep. All right.
Okay, so thank you, Eric. Thank you all guys to join IMOC. So this is the end. So we are going to go work and see you in support chat, emails, schedule your meetings with training with me, customer success. And thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Thanks for your time.
I'm going to enjoy my margarita.
Yes. Thank you, John.
Thank you, guys.